Cool. So it's always a good day to do these because why? It's Friday. I know in your world, Shaan, it's not a Friday, but you know what? We just got to make the most of it, okay?
I think today actually will be. I've got my last one at 2:30. After that, it'll be done. It'll be done.
Oh, love it. Okay, so there we go. So welcome to the Marketing Lifeline's Friendly Friday, where we're in conversation with like-minded people who just like to share and share alike. And today we are joined by Shaan Stander from Accountrepreneur. And today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different and more about accounting, which is quite interesting for some of the visitors. And it's why and when accounting matters in your business. Yep, we've got to face those numbers, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, thanks so much to you, Shaan, for joining us this awesome Friday. And I look forward to sharing with you.
Thanks, Megan.
Cool. So just a quick intro introducing Shaan's rather interesting bio. As he started out as an entrepreneur when he was in grade 7, buying and selling chickens at auctions, and from there on it just never stopped. From buying and selling bicycles, gas heaters, tumble dryers, and everything in between. Even though business and wheeling and dealing is his passion, he said he needed it to be a little bit more formalized and only just decided to become a CA. I mean, one of probably the hardest things to do, but well done. Then spent a further 7 years at Deloitte, after which the Accountrepreneur was started, on the back of wanting to rather add value and make a difference in small businesses. The Accountrepreneur was started in 2018 and was fully run by April 2019. With the difference they have made in small businesses, the company has grown, and in just over 2 years to a team of 7 people, and definitely looking at growing around every corner. So what an amazing story, Shaan. That's interesting. From the age of grade 7, was it because your dad didn't believe in pocket money, or did it just come naturally to you?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I really enjoy the hustle, but yeah, it's always great too if your brother buys something because he saved his pocket money, you spent yours. Something else has to come from somewhere else. So I think that was the biggest drive. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Love it. Don't worry, I was selling my toys on the pavement because I also didn't get enough pocket money. So let's kick off and tell us a little bit about the rather unusual name, but I think so appropriate, the Accountrepreneur, and what makes you guys really different, as you said, and as I know, from any other accountant. Because let's be honest, I think accountants have a perceived or a perception of being rather straightforward, not having a personality, as some of us know, you being a comedian. So tell us a little bit about Accountrepreneur and what makes you guys different.
Great. Thanks, Megan. Thanks for having us. I think to start off with, if you drive through any suburb, you'll see on every second corner there's kind of an accounting firm on the corner that someone started, and so the competition is quite fierce out there, and there are many accounting firms out there. I think we were partly lucky and unlucky that we started about a year before COVID, or just over a year before COVID, and the reason how we started, and that's what sets us apart, that's how we wanted to set up the business, and luckily we did, was that we wanted to not just do compliance-based tick box accounting where you get your stuff at the end of the month or at the end of every 6 months if you run provisional tax, but rather being there for our clients, understanding their business. So if there are questions around accounting, bookkeeping, tax, anything, we understand what is happening. Mm-hmm. So we went fully digital and fully on cloud. So all our clients run completely paperless with interaction between us. And I think that's what set us apart in COVID also specifically, is there's so many accounting firms that closed down because they couldn't get information or bank statements or any of that from their clients, and nobody could travel. So VAT submissions, pay-as-you, and all those things got behind, and it incurred penalties and interest at SARS, and they just couldn't sustain it anymore. So I think we took a little bit of a step back from that to say, well, because we understand what entrepreneurship is about and what business is about, why don't we marry the expertise of finance and business and entrepreneurship in one and take that package to a client, which sets us apart completely, because 90% of accountants sit with a little tie, they debit and credit, tick box, and they go from there.
I love it. No, I think that definitely resonates. And even just obviously knowing you on a deeper level, I mean, you know, you don't fit that box at all. And I think that's what makes you real for entrepreneurs. And that's why I think it's important today, what we're talking about, is because a lot of entrepreneurs and startups have the perception like, I don't need an accountant, I'm still young, I'm not making enough money, etc., etc. So we'll get to that in a bit, because as my next question goes, is finance is always a topic entrepreneurs tend to steer away from because of the fear factors, right? But tell us from your experience, rather, the benefits, why entrepreneurs shouldn't hide from it.
So, I mean, it is a very, very difficult topic. And especially if you marry accountant and finance in one, my challenge to any entrepreneur SME is always, you need to be excited in why you're excited in your business. Number one, do you want to grow your business? Why do you want to do business? No one wants to do business for the sake of just sitting and providing a service. You want to grow into something so that it can be sustainable, so that you can look after yourself, your family, and leave that kind of legacy. So the basis of a business is only twofold. It's either your product and or service, and that directly relates into your finances, or bottom line, effectively into cash. So if you can manage your product and your service well, but you can't manage your finances well, there's no point, because you'll lose the whole package. So for me, it's such an important basis of any and foundation of any business to make sure that your finance is in order. And whether you do it yourself, someone helping you, it doesn't really matter. It's a principle that your finances need to be in order. You need to understand what's going on in your business, number one, but need to understand what your finances is about, because your bank balance does not show if you're making money or not, because you never know what's coming tomorrow. You might just delay a payment of 200,000 by 2 days, and on that day it looks like you're a millionaire, but actually you're bankrupt. So I think to embrace the finance is something that you need to embrace just as much as you embrace your actual business, because that is why you are in your business. And by looking away, not looking at your business finances, the money in the bank, the prospects, the money in and money out, you run a very, very big risk, unless you've got a massive amount of GP that you can run, and that you don't worry about if you're losing a few grand every week. Then it's fine. Then you can go out and spend money as you want. But if that is not where you are, and I think in the economy we're seeing today with most SMEs, it is a tight line to walk on a monthly basis. So to understand that and really understand that, and not the debit and credit side, but the principal side, I think is very important. And it's someone that, if you know what you like and you know what it should look like, it's actually quite easy to understand and manage. Yeah,
agreed. And I think that's something most entrepreneurs tend to steer away from. So they see it as kind of money coming in, but forget sometimes about what money's going out. And also some of the small things that catch up on us. And then before we blink, we've realized how much we've spent on something, and we kind of think, how crazy is that, you know? Whereas if we kind of manage it, have a kind of, even if it's a basic spreadsheet just for the likes of those that need to just manage income and expenses for now, for me, it's vital for me as well, because I also get tied up, and 1 month I'll be like, oh my gosh, how much did I spend? And then the next month you're kind of back to normal again. But just knowing as well, I think, as you mentioned, it's not even to get into the technical part of it, it's just having that awareness level to be aware of what's coming in, what's going out, and knowing what is a profit and what is a loss, because I think that sometimes too catches up with us. So great advice. Thanks for that. So let's kind of jump on to the next question, and I think that's a kind of a question that I had to ask as well, is how soon does an entrepreneur require a bookkeeper, accountant to assist them in their business? And perhaps you also just want to give us a bit of a definition between the two, you know, the bookkeeper and the accountant.
So I'm a little bit biased in this, obviously, purely because that's my bottom line and finances that I need to manage. But I think let's touch on the difference first. So unfortunately, bookkeeping is a kind of skill and value that is being phased out with the way that accounting in business is being run at the moment. So in the past, you have a bookkeeper that would capture all your slips, would pull in your bank statements and allocate that basically on a spreadsheet or on a weekly basis, monthly basis, whatever that might be. And then the books will need to be given over to an accountant every 6 months just to reconcile your taxes and do your financials at the end of the year. And the biggest reason for that was the rate per hour between what those two the industries charge is completely different. So most businesses couldn't afford an accountant to be in-house or didn't want one to be in-house because of the amount of work that there is. So they'd use a bookkeeper to do the capturing side of things, and then they hand it over. The way that the business environment and the accounting environment specifically has gone is with all the technology that's out there. The capturing is now automatic. So when I mentioned paperless earlier, so we've got software, for instance, that you take a photo of it or you forward it to a dedicated email address, and that bookkeeping side of it, it's got incredible OCR built into that, and all your slips are automatically captured. If you go to Macro, for instance, and you sit and while you're paying, you take a photo of that slip. By the time you get to your car, it would have automatically realized its macro, what the invoice number is, what that date on that invoice is, and what the inclusive, exclusive, and VAT amount is. So unfortunately, that means that now all of a sudden accountants can take over the full role of it, but also not charge normal accountant rates at whatever that is per hour. But because the software takes all of that in, they can give proper advice and more be a business advisor and give insight into your business rather than worrying about tick boxing and capturing stuff. In terms of timing, it's a very, very difficult question to answer purely because of the growth of the business. I mean, specific industries takes you 2 to 5 years to at least have something that you can just draw a salary from. Other industries, I mean, if you were in pharmaceuticals 2 months before COVID hit, you did quite well in the first 3 months of COVID.
Or PPE, yeah.
Exactly. So I think the way that also the accounting sphere is going is not that you need an accountant at various intervals anymore, but rather having someone sitting next to you at a flat monthly fee, for instance, and that can vary anything from 2.5 grand to 20 grand a month, depending on size of the business and all of that. Yeah. But then there's no ad hoc charges, number one, but number two, that the business structures are set in place from day one, that you don't run into issues in 6 months' time from now or in a year's time from now. I'll give an example. We took over a client quite recently, and they had an accounting firm, actually accountants that looked after them. And I met them for coffee the one day, and it was just before provisional tax period. And they were supposed to pay about 250,000 Rand worth of income tax for that provisional tax period. So I told them, well, just send me the calculation quickly. I'm not going to change anything. Let's just look it over. And just with the way that the structure was set up, and luckily there was enough time that we can quickly change that structure, we'd saved them 150,000 Rand in 2 days worth of tax. And I mean, I'm not saying we did that. It's just, if you have an accountant next to you with a business set up and you're planning from day one, the amount of headaches and penalties and issues that you save down the line can be millions if you tie that up in the next 10 years or 5 years in your business. And no one wants to spend 10 million Rand on literally chucking money away.
Yeah. So essentially, you're kind of saying the sooner the better, because what you've just kind of explained is, in my head, it was kind of like start with bookkeeper, move on, because accountant will then do the tax period, kind of hand over to the tax to go through the financials and all that. So working together, whereas you kind of saying Accountrepreneur does the full solution. So you need to kind of start off from the get-go, get the systems in place. And as you say, because it's so easy, it doesn't need to take us a lot of time. And you actually don't need to be, let's not say educated, but at least it's quite simple. It's a simple process. It's not going to take your time. And may I ask, do you associate with Xero, or are you guys on Quickbooks, or what do you use?
So QuickBooks and Sage in my brain is like swearing.
Okay. So
I just think, yeah. So Xero for me is incredible. And again, it comes back to the bookkeeping and accounting scenario, exactly the same. QuickBooks and Sage are much cheaper than Xero. and we, for instance, incorporate into our fees the Xero fee. But let's just say you don't have an account and you want to choose. QuickBooks and Sage can manage everything that Xero does. But if you want to start automating and drive efficiencies, something like Xero, the integrations that's available are just worlds apart from the other two. And I think that's where the value lies. A lot of people see that it might be $300 a month more expensive, but the amount of time and effort that it can save you over 2 years and the amount of value that you can understand in your business is tenfold that. But no one always, people only see the outflow of expenses, but not the time saved in, you can rather playing golf on a Friday afternoon.
And that's actually another thing we haven't even spoken about, is just time. Because I know with Xero, they have that Hub Docs thing, that downloadable app, and crazy things that just make things so efficient. Okay, so let's move on to some tips, because this is where the accountant has got to put his accounting hat on. So what top tips can you share with entrepreneurs to help them manage perhaps their financial business better, just from your experience?
So I think that those are the only 3 points that I had to write down, because trying to remember tips and tricks as we go can become quite heavy if you're in a live call. So a big thing for me that I started implementing, and I actually saw this from someone else on Facebook, like a motivational speaker about a year or two ago, to say every morning when you get into the office, open up your bank account and look at the balance that sits there. Whether it's in the red or in the green, doesn't really matter. And the reason for that is it gives you two things. It makes you understand exactly where you are in that specific day with cash flow. Are you expecting money coming in? Is it in the red and you need to push money out? But also, if you are aware of something, so I always say that if you don't measure something, it doesn't get done. So if you look at that bank balance, it's much harder to spend money on random and unimportant items if you know where you're sitting. If you're sitting 6 months down the line, you haven't really seen your bank balance, you don't really care if you don't actually know if there's money or not, but it's much easier to swipe that card. But if you look at the bank balance in the morning and understand exactly what is in there, you're much more aware of what you can spend, and maybe rather save that one expense or that one purchase for a month after you've got in some revenue.
Because you're aware that's the most important thing, right?
Exactly. So that's the one thing. The other thing for me is,
so if you open it every day and it doesn't change, is that okay? Is that still motivating for us?
That's okay. I mean, it's better than going down every day.
Okay, good. I'm just checking, because every day I go and it doesn't seem to just grow overnight. Damn it. I was just thinking, am I doing something wrong? Okay, cool. So, and number 2, what were you going to share with us? Sorry about that.
So I touched on it briefly earlier to say that, and this touches and contradicts point number 1 a little bit, but point number 1 was looking at your bank balance. Number 2 for me is, don't just look at your bank balance if it's in the green and think you are prosperous and making profit. A lot of business owners look at, and whether you've got Excel that you run your business on currently or an accounting system, your bank balance is only a snapshot at that point and second of that day. So as a business owner, you need to familiarize yourself, and you don't need to understand it completely, but at least know when different taxes are due, when certain compliance payments are due, whether it's workman's compensation, whether it's your annual return at CIPC, any of those kind of compliance payments, just have an idea more or less when that is payable and when it needs to go out. Because I think planning is such a key thing in your business. If you've got 100,000 Rand in there in your business account, but you know that you have to pay workman's compensation 10,000 Rand, you need to pay as you earn by the 7th of 50,000 Rand, that money is actually irrelevant, because it's going to flow out in the next few months. And then on top of that, have an idea of what your money is that is outstanding. A lot of business owners knows exactly what money should be coming in, because that's the fun part. But the corresponding suppliers that you've used, of consultants that you've used, that you need to pay, make sure that you know at least when more or less that money, what that figure is. Because I know most business owners, you only pay your suppliers when you get paid, and that's fine in most instances when it comes to consultants. But know what that figure is. There's no point, again, in 100,000 Rand sitting on your receivables, but you've got 90,000 Rand to spend. So you only have a buffer of 10,000 Rand to pay. So the planning and understanding of your business is key for me. And that's something that a proper set up accounting system will tell you live information every single day at any point in any minute.
have that. And your third and final one?
The third one, I learned myself when I was still doing articles. So my wife and I sat around and we were looking at moving insurance companies, short-term insurance companies. And when we started going through what we actually have insured, we realized there's stuff that we haven't even had for the last 2 or 3 years because you just continue to pay.
Yeah.
So one thing that we now try and do, and we do miss it sometimes, is, and I think from a business perspective, that's also very important, is every 6 months, look at your full cost base. So every single expense that goes through your business or in your personal life, make sure those are necessary expenses, especially the debit orders that goes off recurring. Make sure that those expenses are actually valid expenses and they actually add value. Because if you start a business, for instance, there's a lot of small nuances that you have to cater for. Office 365, any of those kind of expenses that's recurring. But 5 or 6 months down the line, you might have found a different project management tool or a different hosting provider or any of that. But because you don't look at your bank account every single day, you don't necessarily know what you are spending money on. So if after 6 months, go through every single expense that you have and say, do I still need that? Or was that a season that I needed to spend that money? And for now, there's no need for it anymore. And can that? Because if it's only $100 that you save a month, it's 1,200 Rand a year, and that accumulates over 5 or 6 or 7 different debit orders that goes off to your account. So that's something that I learned from a very strategic insurance move, and it's proven quite well. If you realize then, and the thing is, then you get more meticulous, because if you see in the first or the second 6 months, listen, I've saved 5 grand over the last 6 months because I just moved something of wasting money. You start doing that on a monthly basis and you realize how much money you actually save.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hear you, because sometimes you see things going off and you think, oh, it's such a little amount, and you're not quite sure, and then you just leave it, and like you say, it accumulates, and it's exactly the same with your insurance. You've just mentioned it. I got my review, it was like 500 Rand more. I was like, no, bugger this, I'm not paying more. Why do I need to pay more? So go back, kind of question why, and then obviously reduce. And then now someone got a new quote for another provider. But you need to, it's our money, you know. What was amazing the other day is when I did a payment. I couldn't believe it was an international payment, however, off my credit card. They charged me like 56 Rand. I was blown away. But what I had to do is now add that 56 to the cost, because that's money out of my account that otherwise wouldn't have even known about. So just to sum it up, because obviously I've tried to capture it as much as I could, but I think you've shared with us quite informative things to help us. But most importantly, look at your bank balance every morning and just be aware. But at the same time, don't assume if you're in the positive that you are making money. Also, as you said, be aware of when payments are expected to be going out and or what payments are outstanding. And as you said, every 6 months, just review, kind of go through your bank balance, check what little monies are going off and question those and if you still need them. So those are awesome. Thanks so much for those, Shaan. And then just in closing, in your opinion, what is probably some of the most, or one of the most common mistakes that you've seen entrepreneurs make in their business? And this can really relate to anything, because I know yourself, you're quite the entrepreneur, gone from selling chickens to bicycles, and now in the entrepreneur space and starting up other businesses. Just share with us from an entrepreneur, what are some of the common, or one of the common mistakes we make?
I'll touch on 2 quick ones. The first one for me is, when do you start handing or not having every single hat on? In terms of when you're running your business, you're opening the business, you are owner, you are staff, you're a marketing expert, you're HR consultant, you're literally everything. And I mean, there's a reason for that, because everything else costs money. And you've got all that you have is time, and you don't have any money if you start your own business. So when is that a good idea to start bringing some other people in to assist you, whether it's outsourced or in-house? It doesn't really matter. From a cost-saving perspective, it's probably better to outsource in the beginning. But to take those various hats off, because if you only see, if you run a business, I fully believe it's between 5 and 10 years worth of ICU period. That you have to, you build the business during the day and you do the work at night. If that is something that you're not willing to do and you want to do everything in 8 hours, you will probably not make it. And there are probably exceptions to that rule, but I'm just talking in general.
Yeah.
So to be able to be mature enough to say, okay, there is a little bit of money coming in. I can probably, to allow me to save an extra 3 hours in building the business, I'll get a marketing expert like yourself in to help with the strategy and get those kind of things in, because then it's a portion of also building your business. Then the second thing for me, and I had a very good discussion with a friend and a client 2 days ago, to say, when do you start scaling your business to not being just yourself? Because it's very nice to have revenue coming in, and at a certain point in time you get flush with, this is my base expenses, and I'm talking personal and business, so this is the amount of money that I need. And if that's 10,000 rand, that's great. So if you hit that, and your long-term plan is to actually build a business and not just be a solopreneur, I would suggest to, if you hit that, every single cent over and above that, employ someone else to help you. Because every
cent above that,
every cent above that, start putting away for a kitty. So don't employ someone for 1 cent, please. I think that's unlawful.
Okay. I get it.
But as soon as you can put the money away to get someone in, because number one, you don't want to become accustomed to a certain lifestyle over and above what you need in the beginning. Like I said, 5 to 10 years ICU period, it's about building the brand. Yeah. After that, get people in, because if you've got 2 people, you can do much more than 2 people's work if you collaborate between that. So you can start building the business. You've got all this capacity that can help you, and that's a very, very, very difficult thing. I can remember when I had to do that for the first time. I was very unhappy, because now all of a sudden you've closed this one deal, but you're not seeing the fruits of that at all, number one. Yeah. And number two, the person was sitting there, and I had to pay that salary at the end of the month. I'm like, maybe you can just take me to CCMA and I won't pay it, because it's hard. Yeah. But as soon as you sit back and you start seeing the impact and the amazingness that they can bring to the table and grow the business, then you realize the benefits of that. But it is a hard thing to do. So I think most businesses, I feel, do it too late and first start getting accustomed to a better lifestyle.
Okay. Yep, it's a very good point. I think quite often we asked, how soon do we need to outsource? And a lot of people say the sooner the better. And even if you think you can't afford it, that's the right time. Never assume you can afford it, because then it's probably too late. So
one less McDonald's burger.
Hey?
One less McDonald's burger.
Yeah, well, no McDonald's burgers. Homemade burgers.
Yes.
That's been awesome, Shaan. Thanks so much for your feedback. I think it's been such an amazing session, sharing with us as well, as I say, in the kind of finance space. You know, you form such an important part of a business, and you know, we don't just talk about marketing on this Friendly Friday, but I think finance is such an integral part to building a business, just by having that awareness, as we said, just being aware of what's coming in, what's going out, and getting the help we need to help us manage our businesses better. As we've just said, we can start by not necessarily employing somebody, but we can most definitely start by outsourcing it to somebody that can help us, that has the expertise. So thank you so much again, Shaan, for joining us today. And it was awesome sharing with you, and for you sharing with us. And then, yeah, next week, believe it or not, I was like prepping for today, and I was, oh my gosh, next week is public holiday in South Africa, celebrating our heritage with probably a lekker old braai next week, Friday, because although we are entrepreneurs and we're probably all still going to be working, we're just going to make take some time out on Friday. And we'll make it up in the late hours in the evening. So I'll only be joining you guys back on the 1st of October, the following Friday. And next week, we're just going to take some time out and enjoy it. So thanks so much for watching us today, and hope to see you guys again. And if you enjoyed the interview, please give us a comment or share it. I'm sure that today's discussion can help a number of entrepreneurs out there. Until next time, have a good weekend, everybody, and happy Friday.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks, guys.